Hi, I'm Frank and welcome to my woodturning channel. This week we're going to try to make something a little different. It's a offset bowl. So this is the blank I'm going to start with, and you can see this is the center and this will be the outside of the bowl, but then there'll be a little bowl inside of it that's offset. And yeah, that's something I've been meaning to try. I saw someone do it. I thought it was kind of interesting. So we'll give that a try this week. For this project, I'm going to use the screw chuck, and there's going to be two holes here for mounting. One for the regular bowl and one for the offset bowl. And here, in this case, I've used about a 7/8 inch offset. That looks to be about right for this size of bowl. And I'm just drilling the second hole for that screw chuck. Once I've mounted this on the chuck in the offset position, I'm going to try to just establish the size of the tenon that will work, because I need two tenons on the bottom, one in the offset position and one in the regular position. So now I'm just screwing this back on in the central position, and I'm going to just play around with the size of the tenon until it kind of works for both situations. I'm just establishing the outer tenon now, and you can see my shoulder got in the way of the video. With the tenon area now established, I'm just going to true up the outside of the bowl using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Next, I'm going to just shape the bottom of this bowl, and I'm just going for just a fairly simple shape here. And I'm using pull cuts, as you can see. I just find that's the easiest way for me to see the shape of the bowl develop, because I can sort of stand in front of it and my eyes can see the shape develop versus a push cut. After I've got the surface as good as I can get with this sort of pull shear cut, then I'm just going to use a negative rake scraper and take off any little ridges or bumps or valleys that are still remaining. This is nice hardwood, so you can see I'm getting really nice shavings. Now, after remounting the bowl in the offset position, I'm going to now establish the tenon for this offset inner bowl. And I just want it to work out correctly so that when the chuck is on the outer tenon, it still just barely touches this inner tenon, and then the inner tenon can work the way it is as well. That way, in both positions, I have a solid hold when I'm turning the bowl. And here I'm just checking to make sure that both positions work for my chucks. And it looks like that'll work out just fine. In the normal concentric position here, now I'm just going to level off the surface and get it all nice and flat, and then I will also sand that surface, particularly around that outer edge. For something a little more interesting on this bowl, I'm going to coat the top surface with some black gesso, and then later I'll carve through it just to give a little bit of an interesting effect on the top surface. Once the gesso has dried, I'm just using a white pencil to kind of mark where the inner bowl will be. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a ring as well. So I've marked the inner bowl plus a little ring of black that I'm going to leave. And now that I have it in this position, I'm also going to mark some radial lines. You can see here I'm using my indexing wheel, and these lines I'm going to carve through later just for an interesting effect on the outside. And here I'm just scribing a line inside that outer ring. And next I'm just going to hog out or cut out the internal part of the bowl here in the offset position. And then you can see I'm using my tailstock for a bit of added support and safety. It's always important to stop every once in a while and just check your thicknesses with the calipers. Once I have the shape and thickness the way I like, then I'm just going to use a new gouge here with a little bit tighter angle. It's got a 45-degree angle. And just do a nice slow cut all the way through. Try to get the best surface finish I can. And here the speed, I believe the speed of the video is 2 times normal. So you can see I'm making this cut nice and slow just to try to get the best finish I can. Now I just sand that inner surface. Probably started at 120 grit and down to either 320 or 400 grit. After remounting this in the central position, I'm just going to now sand the back of the bowl. Here I'm just using a power carver with a V knife on it, or V blade on it, and I'm just coming along those lines that I drew. And then next, once I've finished all of that, I then just used a rotary tool with a little round burr on it and just made a whole bunch of little round marks on it, as you can see there. Now to take off the tenons on the bottom, I've just used my jumbo jaws, and that's just a nice simple way of getting rid of those. Again, I'll keep the tailstock here for as long as I can and get this bottom of the bowl mostly finished with a nice little undercut underneath. And once I have most of it finished up, then I'll take the tailstock away and just clean up that last little bit in the center. And if necessary, I'll do any little scraping if needed on the bottom. And then fully sand the bottom. After I fully sanded the bottom, I've then taken the piece off and I've just finished it with some spray lacquer. Stay tuned for some final images of this piece, and I've also included another offset bowl piece which I did pretty well at the same time. Thanks for watching.